Do it again.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world.
You're listening to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
Don't try and church it up, son.
You can't handle the truth.
I am big. The picture that got small.
Your first one's on us. Welcome to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling. I'm your host, Mark Riccadonna, and with me as always,
Richie Byrne.
It's good to see you, buddy.
Did it right.
We got that fucking point down.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, man. Did you notice I changed the background up a little?
Yeah. Look at you. What is that? Is that Hendrix? What is that in the back?
Yeah, I got a Hendrix poster. Then I got the
Eiffel Tower.
Right there. Eiffel Tower. But look who's right above them. The Morrison Hotel.
Oh,
so there's a little theme going on.
I get it.
Yeah, a little
Jimmy's
theme.
buried in Paris.
Yeah.
I get it.
I put these up because A, I found them. And then B, we're doing a podcast out of my wife's closet. So I figure why not dress it up a little, right?
There you go. Nice. Now listen, before we start, you had an interesting night. And I want you to tell me about it a little bit. And you performed last night.
Yes, I did a show, and I won't say who it was for because that.
You mind that I brought it up?
No, that's fine. And I was kind of weird about these Zoom shows because I thought it was like just people needing attention, but there was money involved, so I said yes.
Yeah.
But I did a show, and it was really great.
Unlike this show, there's money.
They have on Zoom, a lot of people don't want to turn their cameras on because they haven't put on pants in a month. So they keep their cameras off. So I just asked.
Buddy, I got news for you. Neither have I.
I said to him, I said, look, I know you want your camera off, you want your mic off, you just want to watch comedy, but do me a favor. And when I tell a joke, there's a little button on the side that has a thumbs up or a wave. If you enjoyed the joke, click that so I can visually see what you're enjoying, so I can change my act to do more stuff that you're enjoying rather than going off on a tangent that you're not interested in. Mm-hmm. So if you like it, hit the button. And I'm telling you, it was like, you ever see people do the silent disco thing where they wear headphones and they're in a big dance hall and they only play the music on the headphones. So
right.
If you walk in the hall, you don't hear a thing, but you see all these people.
No. Right.
It was kind of like that. Like I was doing stand-up to complete silence, but I knew it was going okay.
Wow.
And so I felt comfortable.
Did you pace yourself and all that? Were you thinking about?
Yeah, I had to do 45. And
wow. It's a lot of time.
It is, and I was really nervous I was going to burn through it because like when you're bombing, you can do like an hour of material in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But now, it ended up really well, and then at the end I sat down and I said, turn your cameras on, and if you have questions, and not even with me, if you have questions because these other people are your neighbors, I'm cool with that. I get it. It's weird. It's weird for me. It's weird for you, but let's open it up. And when we did that, I just got compliments. It was just people saying thank you, and it really made me feel good.
That's great, bro.
Because
I'm glad it went well.
It was like it's been like a month since I did a show. So
yeah.
There was a lot of rust coming off these gears.
No, I hear you. Yeah, it's going to be 5 weeks for me. So that's great. I'm glad it went well, and you have more to do. You got a few more gigs coming up.
Yeah, I got some more coming up, and Richie, we got to get me and you. Maybe we could do some DJS live shows.
Yeah, we can do that. Anybody has an idea they want to do it, reach out to us. We can make that work. Mark can go through.
Yeah,
powers that be. Now, I understand we have something.
I do. I planned this for you, Richie.
This is a video you made.
Yes, I made
Mark
this.
Is an accomplished director.
I've done good things. A lot of these clips and sketches you're going to see is when I was first learning how to do things.
I like this, though. We go back and see Riccadonna before he was Riccadonna. This is the early days of McCartney and Lennon.
When you see, when Vic was on, he advertised his coffee line. And I wanted to tell you that Vic DiPotetto is not the only Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling person to have his own coffee line. We have a commercial from when I used to have my own coffee line. Joey, let's roll the tape here.
Hello, I am Raul Cardo, former drug cartel. I used to think that Colombian marching powder was the best part of waking up, but now I find that one sip of my cafe will make you think you just had a chest hair salad.
Las drogas, el café, el perro se está ahogando.
Oh, God. God. You know, as a fat man,
I have no shame, just so
I'm
you know.
always overwhelmed anywhere when I watch a movie that like people will go, yeah, I'll go without my shirt. I'm always like, you know what I mean? And I do think though, you are hairy. And I do think hair helps. That's my theory on this, and I could be wrong. I have no hair. I have no hair.
You look like a shaved possum.
I look like Baby New Year when I take off a shirt or something. You know, I look like Buddha. So, maybe like I gotta look at that. I'll go, but then I go, it doesn't look that bad. But if it were me, it would look awful. You remember when we did the boom? I wouldn't take my shirt off. Do you remember?
Yeah. Well, you know what it is though. When it's you, all you're doing is going, look at that big fat belly. Oh my God, I'm so disgusted. But when it's another person watching, they're laughing. It's like Chris Farley.
I don't know. I give
Chris
credit.
Farley when he'd fall over and break a table and shit. You know he was self-conscious, going, "Oh man, that's another." People are gonna see how fat I am when this happens. But when we're watching it, it's just funny, and now, I have no shame. I don't care.
How long ago did you make that?
That was probably about 7 years ago. I was on. I was doing a vacation gig.
So you've been out of shape a long time.
Oh yeah, 1999. I graduated high school. I had a torn rotator cuff and a ripped AC joint. Never lifted a weight again.
Yeah. But it's a funny bit. I like the commercial. I did.
But a cocaine cartel is making coffee to help wake you up.
I mean, we had you as Pablo Escobar the other day. And, I mean, it's a running theme here, Mark. And
I'm the only fat guy on cocaine.
Yeah.
Which actually, obviously, I don't, or else I might lose some weight.
Now, when you made that, was that just you, or did you have other people involved with that?
So I was doing a gig in the Outer Banks, and I had my buddy with me, and we just decided to give it a shot and see if we could make it look like an old vintage coffee commercial.
Well, I think you did a good job with that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was completely made up on the spot. And
it was one camera?
Yeah, it was a cell phone.
Oh, it was. I was going to say, see, now you can do that shit on your cell phone, but back then, you had a cell phone.
We were trying to learn how to use our cell phone and edit video together, and there was no script. We were like, it'll just be funny if I'm in a towel, no shirt, drinking coffee, pretending I was.
I'm telling you.
I had a full beard, and I shaved it all off just to do that thing.
Oh,
and
really?
then I realized, oh crap, we got a show tonight. And I'm supposed to, I have a show that night, and I have a bunch of bits about having a beard, because this was before everybody had a beard. So I had a bunch of jokes about having a beard, and I realized I just shaved off 10 minutes.
I better write some fat jokes quick. All right, enough of that. It's time for our guest, man.
So we're going to bring out a very special guest. We got an amazing guest today.
You and I both have a long history with him, but you have an immense history with him. Buddy.
We've been trying to get this guy on forever, but he's a hard man to get a hold of because he's constantly working, constantly doing stuff. Let's bring him out. Ladies and gentlemen, from That Metal Show, Beer Money, Don Jamison.
Oh, yeah.
There he is.
What's
up,
doing? How are you?
My first question is, who books the Zoom gigs?
I'll talk to you after, buddy.
That's all I care about. You know that, Richie. Come on.
I know.
Every comment. You know the old thing.
How stupid of me to bring it up on air So now every comic
I
is
know.
watching, gonna go, I gotta get in touch with Rick and Donna. I gotta
My cell phone is going to be blowing up to
Blowing
every
up.
comedian that watches this.
all 12 comics that watch this are gonna want in. How
Well,
are you?
we all have our own version of the same joke about being a comedian, which is, hey, where did you work this weekend? Oh man, I did this like sports bar out in the middle of Altoona, Pennsylvania. I drove 6 hours out there. There was no microphone. I stood on a case of beer for the stage. I didn't get paid. Some guy broke a bottle over my head. And then the comic they're telling to will go, do you know who books that? Is that a Friday and a Saturday?
Is the hotel included, or
do you get to bring your own opener?
Yeah. We'll take anything, you know.
Hell yeah.
I think Jameson just jumped into our joke of the day right there.
I know. So we start every show with a drink. So let's start out with.
What are you drinking, buddy?
I got man, I'm burnt out on beer, so I got this really good Bloody Mary mix, so I'm having one of those.
Nice. Yeah,
Mark?
I am having a real Hawaiian. This is for you, Don. This is what we drank when we were in Spain. I had a romantic 2 weeks with Don in Spain and Portugal. In fact, real quick, Joey, let's pop up. Can we pop up some of those USO photos? There we are in Portugal.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah.
Oh,
Boarding
That's where you're allowed to get haircuts.
There we are in Spain having a little cafe.
Oh, wow.
Getting a siesta. It took us forever to find a.
Is that's
cafeteria.
Downey and Craig Gass?
Downey and Craig Gass. And then we also have On the Monsters of Rock cruise with Don Jamison and Craig Gass. Somehow Craig still had a microphone with him.
All right. I'm going to do my drink because it's in honor of Don. I drink this a lot. I haven't drank it in a couple of days on the show, but I went back to it. It's a Johnny Walker, and I am Back in Black, dedicated to AC/DC.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice.
So, Don, you're doing a show right now. Are you guys able to record remotely?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, looks like this, which a lot of shows do. Thank God we have this technology. But yeah, I'm doing that Jamison show.
We have a photo of that. Let's pop that up while Don talks.
A takeoff of so that's me and Dustin Chafin, who sat in with me that day in front of it's in a green screen studio, and then they key in my set behind it, which is really cool.
Yeah,
and then
beautiful.
I've been doing it from home. They kind of, where I'm sitting now, they key this in to the set, and then they obviously same thing with the guests. They put them up as well, and look, it's better than nothing, and so far so good.
Was Dustin there with you, or
that
was in studio?
Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, that's
that was in studio. And so, yeah, that's on compoundmedia.com. And, in all fairness, it is a pay service. There are some freebies up on YouTube, but, that's Anthony Cumia's channel. Anthony, of course, being Anthony. And I've been coming up on my 50th show on there. So cheers.
That's great, man. Cheers. Congrats. That's great.
Yeah. So, Don, you're kind of living the dream. If you would have got Mark Riccadonna in junior high school and said, what is your favorite things and what do you want to do when you grow up? I'd go sports, heavy metal, and prank calling people. And then I met Don Jamison, and he does all three for a living. So
I made virtually hundreds of dollars doing it.
Well, you could be me and make virtually couples of dollars. So how did you know just do what you love and the money will follow? Like I would have been scared to death.
Yeah, I didn't. That's, it's, ignorance was truly bliss. I just had, I had such a respect for comedians, and of course musicians. I was one in high school. But my first two records were Kiss Destroyer and George Carlin Occupation Fool. And I loved both of them equally, right? Because they were both subversive. My parents hated both of them. So I knew I was onto something with that. But as far as making a career choice, it was just like, it was seeing guys like a guy like Richie, man, who was, out there already killing it when I jumped on the scene. And a lot of the old school Jersey guys and going down to Rascals to do the open mic and looking through that little window into the big room and going, oh my God, one day I'll play in there, and from our side of the window, it looked like the stage was 500 feet tall and like everybody looked larger than life. And all you could think about is someday I'll get on that big stage. And then you finally work there and you're like, no, it's just a regular stage. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal to get there. So when I finally transitioned from open micer to the regular stage and people started giving me a couple bucks, it was like, all right, maybe I'm onto something here. And if not, I was working in the television business. I was working behind the scenes at MTV. I was like, I could always go back. And so here we are 20 plus years later.
So you had background in that, in technology. You went to MTV because you love music, obviously. And so you got yourself involved in that before you were doing comedy.
Well, I actually started working there because now when I started there in 1989, MTV was still new and super cool, right? But the other element for me was I had hair down to my waist while I was in college.
Where am I getting a job?
Where I was going to be looking for a job was going to be a very limited kind of
comedy and music.
Yeah. I didn't own a suit. And I'm proud to say I still do not own a suit. I don't own a tie. I couldn't tie one if my life depended on it. And I was like, yeah, this is a good way to make a living. Dress like I want to dress. I don't have to, really answer to, that the stereotypical shitty boss. And at least I get to do something creative. So, for me, working behind the scenes was tons of fun. I was, writing and producing and using, my brain in the way it needs to be used, but the performing was what I was missing, which I didn't realize until I did it.
And so something that I find interesting is you've had other things happen, but to me, the highlight of you as a career is when that metal show came out, because you got your number one love of life is music and comedy. So you have both of them together, and then you got two of your best friends and said, we're doing a show. How does
they put me on TV?
we have a quick clip just for anybody who doesn't know that metal show. We'll play a little promo thing that I found.
Hello and welcome to That Metal Show. Since its debut in 2009, That Metal Show has become the home of all things rock, hard rock, and heavy metal.
This is great. It's like hanging with the buddies.
I watch it every night.
Classic metal.
This show is great. That Metal Show!
A 60-minute talk show where rock royalty discuss and debate music, culture, and current events. We've got the rights to the show going forward, and we are ready to roll. And motherfuckers miss us.
Does Megadeth belong in the Hall of Fame? I don't know that Megadeth does, but I sure the do.
Don't be scared by the words rock or metal, because we are definitely not a niche audience.
I love that story that you tell about meeting Elvis.
He says, hey, man, you see the cat with the snake, huh?
I love it. I love it.
You're the cat with the snake. I love that. I got to... Go ahead.
You know what happens is you guys know we've all been down the long, lonely comedy road. I probably did a dozen, 10 or 12 TV pilots before that metal show. And man, I lived in Manhattan. So thank God, I had a good agent at the time. And those pilots paid my rent. They kept me alive while I was still trying to sort of carve out a living on the road. Still trying to make my way to the clubs in the city. But, after you do like 10 pilots that don't get picked up, you start to kind of like really have doubts. You're sort of like, well, I'm at least I'm getting paid for these things, but it's almost like the industry is telling me they're paying me to stay off of television at this point.
Well, and that's a great story, and I think that it's important. People who aren't in the business don't understand that the getting a show to go is such a long process, and I mean, people don't understand. Like so many pilots, getting a pilot is a cool thing. Like, oh my God!
Speaking of pilots, here's an unpaid. Here's an unpaid photo.
Yeah.
That was I got the direct Don Provenza and Rick Overton in one thing, and that didn't get picked up. I can't believe it. I'm like,
but what's the point? And Radio Gods, Mark's show, Radio Gods. Just the idea of getting a pilot, you go, oh my God, he got a pilot, and then if it gets on the air, it's so long. It's such a hard road to get there, and people, like I laugh when like civilians go, you should do a show. You should be on, and like you have no idea the work and the time that goes into getting there. It's God bless you guys for getting that metal show on the air and doing all that. It's phenomenal, man. It really is.
Well, thanks, man. In retrospect, it was the thing that was meant to happen, but you don't know that while you're, doing one after the other and quote unquote failing at it because again, I'm making money, but there's no forward momentum other than I'm just moving on to the next one. So in retrospect, that metal show was the perfect storm, but yeah, even just to get to that point, now that metal show is off the air. And so now people just think, okay, you'll be right on TV again to do that. I'm like, no, I got to do 12 more pilots again. You don't understand how the business works.
I got to get to the back of the line and start over.
Yeah.
I got to tell you a story. You had Alice Cooper. I got to tell you a story, Mark, about Don. A couple of years ago, I was working at Uncle Vinny's in Point Pleasant, and I was headlining, and Don came in to do a guest spot. And we were talking, and I told you, I said, you're pretty much living the life I want to lead, because I love metal and I love all music. And you were like, dude, you don't know how cool it is. I don't want to, and you kept saying to me, I don't want to sound like a geek, and you were telling me stories about different rock stars. And you were like, I don't mean to sound like a geek. And I realized I'm not impressed by comics. Someone asked me who I've met that I've been impressed by. It's always a rock star for me, or if I meet a rock star, it's never, and you told this story about Alice Cooper saw you somewhere and he said, hey, Don. And you were like, I thought it was so cool that Alice Cooper knew who I was. And then he said to you, I remember this like it was yesterday. He said to you, hey, man, I was thinking about you the other day. And you were like, it was so cool to think that Alice Cooper was thinking about me. And I'll even tell you what it was. His daughter wanted to get into an improv group, and he thought he should call you about it. And you go to me, I know I sound like a real geek right now. I go, no, I don't think that at all, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like totally on board with it. Like if Alice Cooper ever thought about me, I'd lose my goddamn mind,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
God bless.
And there's so many guys in the hard rock and metal world that are like that. I mean, Alice he's the king of that. He is the consummate gentleman. He'll always pick up a conversation where you left off, even if you don't see him for 2 years. You'll see him again. He'll go, oh, how's your sister doing? I remember last time we were talking, she says having some problem. I'll go, oh, no, she's good. Cool. So that one day backstage at one of his shows blew my mind out. Because, like, why would Alice Cooper be thinking about me in any way, shape, or form? It was amazing.
The fact that you get to call him Coop is Coop. Like, I wouldn't know whether to address him as Mr. Cooper or Miss Cooper. I wouldn't know. And I was thinking of you the other night because NBC reran Jesus Christ Superstar from 2 years ago, and he played Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar, and I was like, oh man, there's Alice Cooper. And I thought of that story.
I think Jesus actually opened for Alice Cooper once. No lie, Jim Morton, the Doors used to open for Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
If you ever want to go in a rabbit hole, just Google famous people who went to see Alice Cooper, and you can find the Edith Bunker. She's dressed in leather.
Yes,
hanging out with
Gene Stapleton.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else I love about Alice Cooper is he was best friends with Groucho Marx. Like he was one.
Yeah,
you know
he used to,
like
Groucho Marx and Milton Berle used to go to his concerts. I'm like,
Gabe Kaplan.
Awesome are you?
Gabe Kaplan told me that when he went to say goodbye to Groucho, he went to his deathbed. He went to his house to say goodbye to Groucho, and he said, as I was walking to the door, Alice Cooper was coming out, and he was crying.
Oh man,
that's such a great story, man. You went from Alice Cooper to Mr. Carter in your deathbed.
Yeah, and he was friends with Salvador Dali, and yeah. So Alice has just had this crazy history, and he's still putting out good music. So
yeah, he is.
He's an amazing guy, man. He's 70, almost 75, and he's still better than ever.
I like the Vampires, man. I like them a lot. Who have you met that you went, and it could be sports too. Who have you met that you go, oh shit? Because Cooper would be one like, who have you met where you go, holy shit, this is big.
I think it was weird. A lot of the interview a lot of people talk about from that metal show is the one with Axl Rose, but I kind of hung with Axl like previous to that because my buddy Dizzy Reed is the keyboard player in their band since Illusion. So I'd hung with Axl a bunch of times, but I will say, like, actually sitting down and doing a formal interview with him was kind of amazing because he hadn't done an interview at that point in probably 20 years. He was just a total recluse at that point.
Right.
And and of course also, we waited till like 5 a.m. to do it.
How'd you get him? How did that happen?
Well, we went to where they were playing in Miami, and we thought the interview was supposed to be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we were there at like 3, set up, waiting, ready to go. But Axl at that time was, he wasn't, he didn't have a watch or something, I think. And he was going on stage 2-3 hours, 3-4 days late sometimes. By the time they went on at midnight, they played, and they play a 3-hour concert. By the time he took a shower and got done, it was like 5 a.m. And the only reason we cut the interview short with him is because we had to go to the airport and get our flights home at like 8:30 in the morning. So that was a pretty crazy one. As far as sports, I think the two guys, or really the one guy that intimidated me was Tom Seaver because I'm a huge Mets fan.
You are a big Mets fan.
Interesting.
And I hosted a show on SNY called Beer Money for a couple seasons.
We have a clip.
Let's
roll it.
Oh, okay.
New York City, the sports capital of the world.
We're on a quest to see how New Yorkers fare when they're quizzed on their favorite sports team.
I'm Don Jamison.
I'm Maylene Rainey.
You think you know your New York sports? Well, we'll see about that.
We've got 3 questions. Question 1 is worth $10. Get that one right, and the cash is yours.
You can keep the 10 or risk it and go on to question number 2. That's worth $20 more.
If you answer those 2 correctly, you can walk with $30 or risk it and face the 3rd and final question worth $100 more.
Get all 3 questions correct, and that's $130.
Get any question wrong, and you walk away empty-handed.
There's plenty of other ways to make some cash.
But you're going to have to earn it.
It's Beer Money, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
No, wow.
You guys have shit I don't have either.
We don't screw around, bro. We come prepared. We
were so excited you're coming on. I was like going into this deep dive of Jameson stuff.
I think it's amazing. Like I remember thinking, man, they put out a lot of money every day in prizes.
Well, it's funny, man. And I'm going, and I go through my life right now because I'm just basically going through old boxes and stuff like that and I just found all my old cassettes and everything. And I did find some episodes of Beer Money, but that was a really fun job because it's like being the Alex Trebek of sports, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the know-it-all because I got the answers right on the cards.
Right.
I remember I was doing that metal show, and I used to watch Beer Money because they had some other hosts previous to me. And I was like, man, that would be a really good side job for me, because that's the other part of my puzzle. You got the comedy, you got the heavy music, and then sports is the other big aspect of my life. And I was thinking, man, that would, if they ever needed a host for that, that'd be a good little side job while I'm doing that metal show. And sure enough, like 2 months later, I get an email from the producer of the show, and he's like, hey, we're looking for a new host. Would you be interested? And so
how did they know about it? How did they know you had did they see you on that metal show? Did they know you had a background, that you were a sports fan, or how did that come about?
Yeah, both. Yeah, because I guess, sometimes on the show, like Eddie Trunk and I talked about being big Mets fans and New York sports fans. He's a Giants fan. I'm a Jets fan. So they kind of knew my background a little bit. Okay. And they really wanted to make it more of a entertainment show than a trivia show. Yeah. They wanted a comic. They go, because I went in for the meeting and they're like, you can bust balls, you can make fun of the teams if you want, whatever you want to do. We're just trying to make it more, like less about really the questions.
Less because about $130.
Right, Richie, you're right. It's like, it literally is beer.
At Yankee Stadium, that's 2 beers. So
yeah. Yeah, $130 for the three of us would not last very long.
No. Except right now it would.
Yeah. So anyway,
there's nowhere to spend it.
The Tom Seaver story relates to the Beer Money, because in lieu of paying me anything near what I probably would have been like to have been paid to host the show, the perks were that I got 4 tickets to 4 games a year, and then I got the suite for 2 games a year. That was really cool.
Wow.
The first time I had the suite, I brought Eddie Trunk, I brought my friend Brian Slagle from Metal Blade, my record label, and we're hanging out in the suite. And then, there's a bar in the suite and everything, so you can have beer, wine, mixed drinks, whatever. And we're hanging, talking, and I'm facing the field out of the suite, and Eddie's facing me, and we're just having this conversation. And I just see his eyes just get wide as saucers. And I go, what's the matter? He goes, Tom Seaver just walked into the suite. I'm like, what? He goes, Tom Seaver just walked into the suite. I'm like, Tom Seaver? He goes, yeah, she's right behind you. I turn around, and Tom Seaver is standing behind me. Probably one of my biggest sports heroes of all time. Old pitcher for the Mets, as you guys know. And I turn around, and I'm like, hi, Mr. Seaver. My name's Don Jamison. I host Beer Money. And he goes, yeah, that's great, kid. And he points, my friend Brian was drinking a glass of red wine like Mark is. And he goes, is that your wine? And Brian goes, yeah. And he picks up the glass, and he goes, he slugs the wine down. He goes, yeah, that's pretty good, but not as good as mine. And he starts walking out of the suite. And I'm like, oh, my God.
He just drank some random guy's wine.
And Tom makes wine. Yeah, but now we got to get a photo with him. So I'm like, hold on, Mr. Seaver, could we get a photo with you before you go? And he turns around like this, and he goes, absolutely not. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, I was like Spicoli in Fast Times. I'm like, you dick. But then he just starts cracking up, and he goes, but for you guys that make an exception. Come on.
I was about to say that just made Alan Thicke Jason Seaver my favorite Seaver. If he didn't.
I was going to say, if I were your friend, I'd be like, I got herpes, motherfucker. I got herpes. And that's a great story, man. Wow, Seaver.
Don, here's what's funny is, so I've been friends with you for a long time. You were on that metal show. I was hanging out with you for a little while, and then somebody said to me, I mentioned your name, like, oh, maybe we get Don Jamison to come do this gig with us. And they're like, you mean the guy from Beer Money? And I go, I don't know what that is. And they're like, that show, Beer Money, he's the host of it. I go, no, he's the host of that metal show. And like, I went back and forth, and then I was like, this guy's a moron I'm talking to. Then I went home and went online and looked it up. I'm like, he has another show on television. He never mentioned it once. most of the time, if a comic, gets a piece of gum, they tell everybody. You're doing all this great stuff, and you still, your feet are on the ground. You're like a normal dude. You love doing stand up. You love just talking about stand up. You're like a regular guy, which is not normal in this business.
What
Thanks, man.
How did that metal show come about?
Yeah, I think doing that metal show did keep me, grounded in a lot of ways, because I did do it with two of my best friends in the world, and I didn't have to pretend to be anything on that show. I just had to be me, which is a lifelong fan of this music. And Eddie Trunk had been hosting over at VH1 Classic for a while, and he's like, "Look, they're looking for original programming. Let's, I have an idea for a show. Let's kick around some ideas together." And him and Jim just started. We put the. Here's what we did.
You guys were always on his late night show.
Yeah, we were doing it. We were guesting on the radio show.
Right.
And Jim Brewer was supposed to be involved originally as well, but for whatever reason he wasn't. And then we went into a meeting with VH1 Classic, and we handed them all the ideas on a piece of paper. And because I'm a comic, I think the worst. So I'm like, we'll never hear from them again. 2 weeks later, they call and they go, "Hey, why don't you come back in for another meeting? We looked over the ideas, but we changed it up a lot, but we want to come back and see what you think of our ideas." We came back in, and all they did was take our ideas and put them on VH1 letterhead and give them back to us. So they became their ideas instantly.
We made it professional looking. You guys are writing on a McDonald's napkin.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, and we're like, yeah, all right, yeah, your ideas do look pretty good. Okay, yeah, they look kind of similar, but yeah, all right, let's do this. And then we went and did the pilot, and then I'll tie this into Radio Gods, because I never, other than having some FU money, I never had the desire to be an actor or to do a sitcom, which is rare as a comic, right? Because a lot of times you think, that's what you want to work for or work to. And I never was like that. But then I get to do one with some amazing people, and I go, wow, this would be such an ideal situation. But, we did the pilot for that metal show, and it was awful. I mean, I literally teared up when I watched it, how bad it was. And I called Florentine, and I'm like, dude, I've done 12 freaking pilots at this point in my career. This is the worst of all of them. And and then the other ones got picked up. What do I have to do to get a fucking break in this business? And he goes, "I watched it too. It's horrible. We'll be picked up, guaranteed."
Is that what he said?
Yeah. I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "What shows are popular on TV now?" And at the time I go, "Oh, it's this, whatever." And he goes, "What do you think of those shows?" I go, "They're horrible." He goes, "Exactly." A week later, that middle show got picked up, and we did 14 seasons.
That's hysterical.
And now I know why Radio Gods hasn't gotten picked up, because it was freaking awesome.
Fucking funny. Right, it was good. No.
Dude, you were so much fun when we had you in that day. I was so excited because, dude, Overton and Provenza, who are the stars of the show, were so excited that they had a shoot day with you. They knew you were involved in the pilot, but when they knew they had a shoot day that you were doing scenes together, they got so excited. My only regret in that whole process was I wanted you and Fugelsang in the same day, but the schedules couldn't work out, so we had to break up the scenes and make two different scenes instead of just one. But that's my only regret in that, is to have a scene where it's you, Fugelsang, fighting with Overton and Provenza. And the other thing is you and Fugelsang look a lot alike. You guys do look a lot alike, that I was so afraid people were going to watch it and go, "Isn't that the same guy?" just like more metaled out, and that one's more like wearing the douchebaggy clothes. You guys were so goddamn funny in that pilot. That was a highlight of my life. I just could not get over how much fun that was.
Yeah, I agree, man. That really, it kind of restored my faith in, like, yeah, this could be a good situation if you find the right people to do it with. And I think, a lot of what keeps definitely, and I know you guys for years and years, I think the three of us humbled is, this business always has a way of knocking you down a few pegs, just naturally. But B, I go into a situation like that, and I see that I'm working with guys who are seasoned actors, like Mark, like Rick Overton, who's the Drake on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And I've known Rick for years, and he's a friend, but I still admire him as a fan and a fellow comic. And of course, Paul Provenza, who's just a legend in the business. And to be in the moment with those guys, and for them to be so open and giving and everything in the scenes, and hey, if you want to improv with us, we could do that. And let's work together and make this killer. Like how we have to do it. It doesn't matter who's got more credits or who did what. It was like, let's make this as funny as it could possibly be, and then we can all just like have a great time making a living together.
Well, and that's the point. That's when a guy's got. To me, that's a big part of talent. Is it doesn't matter who's famous, who's this. Let's do a good job. Let's make this work.
The product needs to be good. I gotta be honest. I played one of the parts in it, but that was just to save money.
But you were really good. You were good in that.
I was so happy.
I thought you were really good.
I just wanted to watch you guys work. It was so
The only one sucked was Vinny Nardiello.
Oh my God. We have to have him on. We got to tell the story about his scene because it was hysterical. But Don had two of the funniest scenes in the pilot. And the one where you can't get their names right, and you're just antagonizing them to play the worst like games and stuff. You want to play Wheel of Karaoke and all this stuff, and you played the exact opposite of you. You were using words like cray cray, and I just enjoyed every second of watching you play this completely different person than yourself. And it was so much fun. But you do almost everything you do is stuff that you just want to do. I'm thinking back. I've never seen you do stuff that you're like, I don't really want to do this. Like one of the you have how many albums do you have out? Solo stand up.
So I got 4 stand up CDs, including the new one, Denim and Laughter.
We actually do have clips from that.
You guys,
we don't fuck around.
And let's put links up. We'll put links in the chat thing of where people can go and buy his album, because right now comedians are not working. So every time you buy one of Don's albums, he could get 4 or 5 cents. And
let's see a clip.
Yeah, we'll play a clip from here. I think we'll start with Serial Killers.
I went out with this girl, and she's like, I just wanted to let you know I Googled you before the date. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I got nothing to hide. Plus, I pay a company to wipe all that shit off the internet anyway. She's like, well, you probably Googled me to make sure that I wasn't a serial killer. I'm like, I've been dating for 35 years. Most of the fun I'm getting out of tonight is the fact that I might be on a date with a serial killer. She had crazy eyes. I'm like, I'm either going to have the best time of my life or I'm going to be on Forensic Files next week.
Where'd you shoot that?
So this album, I shot it at a speakeasy in Los Angeles.
Wow.
An actual, a literal illegal club that a friend of mine owns. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's the next place. That's where I'm doing the next album. And you can kind of see it has that vibe a speakeasy.
Yeah.
And,
You love
Yeah.
having CD vibes on your albums.
yeah. All my albums have a very specific vibe because, and no offense to any other comics, because most of them are way funnier than me. But what I always notice is, look, none of us are going to put out an album where we're not killing or doing well, right?
Mhm.
That's a given. So but sometimes I'll watch a special or hear a comedy album, and it's like it could have been recorded in Kansas City, it could have been recorded in Canada, it could have been recorded in Dallas. I like to put the vibe of where I am into the album. Like, we all play Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club down at the Jersey Shore. When I did my other album, one of my albums there, I wanted that vibe of that room on the album. I wanted the BYOB Comedy Club at the Jersey Shore vibe. I wanted you to hear people, walking on sand on the floor. I wanted you to hear somebody knocking a wine bottle off the table in the middle of
somebody chewing the fried calamari.
Right, exactly. And so that was the same with this album, where I was like, you know what? We're in this crazy day and age where everybody's so triggered by everything and all this stuff. I'm going to go back to the old days, and I'm going to do it in a speakeasy, and I'm going to invite the people who like what I do. And we did a Facebook event page, and if you wanted to come, you had to RSVP, and we said, we'll email you the location on the morning of, so, we don't get shut down before we can film the album. And, went out there and did it, and it went great. I had such a good time, and comedy's dangerous as it is, but it's even more dangerous when you have the fear of LAPD breaking down the door and arresting everybody in the joint.
That's great, man. Wow, how many cameras was it? Do you remember?
I think we did 3 cam.
Yeah, it looked like 3. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Let's
I
play
like
one
that.
more clip from there. Let's play one more clip from that.
I don't know that much about weed. The only thing I know about weed is there's 3 specific types, right? Indica, sativa, and hybrid, which all sound like makes of cars that I can't afford to drive. Yeah, I was going to drive the Chevy Sativa, but it was like $570 a month. But it runs on bong water. That's pretty cool. Yeah, well, like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen if you get high, right? Worst thing ever happened when I got high, almost ordered Cheez-Its in bulk off of Amazon.com. Through my Alexa, of course, right? Luckily, I was so high, I was talking to a Yankee Candle the entire time. Saved like $350.
Wow.
Dude, speaking of getting high and Yankee Candles, why don't you tell us the story about getting high with the Yankee Rose?
Oh, yeah, that's another good story, yeah.
Seriously, I can't wait I don't know this story, so I can't wait to hear it.
I didn't tell you this one, Richie. So,
We used to do shows.
I'm a pot smoker. The last time I really smoked pot to any extent of highness was in 1996. And my David Lee Roth was, he had already done his kind of 2 big solo albums, and he was kind of still making his way through the 90s. Mm-hmm. And he was doing the Carson Daly show at NBC at the time at Rockefeller Plaza. And one of my buddies was his assistant. So when Dave came to town, if he played Atlantic City or wherever, my friend Matt would call me and go, hey, me and Dave are coming in, and, why don't you come hang out? So I had hung with Dave a few times. And so they came in to do the Carson Daly show, and I go over to NBC. I go up in the elevator. I get into the hallway, and the whole hallway reeks of weed, just up and down the hallway. And
Snoop Dogg would have been like, damn.
Yeah, yeah, Snoop Dogg would have got a contact high that he couldn't have. So I go, well, I guess Dave's relaxing right now. And he goes, yeah, but he wants to say hi to you, so come on down. So I go down, and he's smoking a joint. He's like, you want to hit? And I'm like, you're David Lee Roth. Of course I want to hit.
Wow.
So he and I are sharing a joint. And, obviously his tolerance was way better than mine was, because I literally almost had to get carried to my seat.
When was this? What year was this?
96. That's the last time I smoked pot, Richie. And then we were supposed to go to Stand Up New York together that night. And I was like, yeah, I work up there. Maybe they'll let me jump on. I'll do a set. We'll hang out. We'll watch comics. I always have a good lineup at Stand Up New York. We walked out of NBC, and I was so effed up. I knew I couldn't do it. I mean, I literally couldn't even just go and sit and watch comics. That's how high I was. And I lived downtown at the time. I go, oh, I forgot my wallet at my apartment. I go, I'll meet you guys at Stand Up New York. And I got in the cab and I went home and I just, I never made it out that night. I missed the whole night.
You just David Lee Roth.
We had an ongoing joke because Don and Craig and a couple other guys used to put together these after shows where they would come up to the club and do shows for bands when they would finish. And the David Lee Roth band was coming up, and you were on the show. It was like Dave Attell, Craig Gass, Kevin Downey Jr. It was a really amazing lineup, and we had to reopen the club to get it ready. And I think there were some other bands coming in, and everybody kept joking that they hoped Don didn't hang out with David because he'd never show up to headline his own show.
Now you guys do the cruise every year.
Yeah, the Monsters of Rock cruise. I was fortunate to do the first year. I haven't done it since, but I had one of the best times of my life on that cruise ship.
Because Don, my brother goes on the cruise. My brother's a drummer and a heavy metal motherfucker, and a Wall Street guy, which is so funny. And he goes on every year, and I'm always like, go make sure you say hi to Don for me. But he's like, and my brother's like, he's like, I don't want to do that, but he always does. Hey, Richie, and I know you've always been really nice to him and my sister-in-law, but they go on every year, and they love the whole thing. And I think that's really cool that you guys do that. You bring on, tell the people what you do. You get a cruise ship, and you bring on bands, and you and Jim and Eddie come on the ship. And you have, like, Mark was a guest, but tell it's such a cool, I think it's such a cool thing what you do.
Yeah, thanks. No, and I love seeing your brother on there, but I am truly like a whirling dervish on those cruises because, besides the stuff they have me doing in terms of working, I just want to go and see bands and see guys, my friends in bands that I haven't seen in maybe a couple of years or whatever, seeing friends on the cruise that are, just regular cruisers and hang with people I've gotten to know from the cruise. But this guy, Larry Morand, put this together. We just did the 10th one. And it's you get on this boat and for the next 5 days, it's 50 of your favorite bands, mostly from the 80s. And it's super interactive. Like,
it's so cool.
Yeah. You could be, sitting down, having, breakfast with, the singer
Kiefer walks over.
Yeah, Tom Kiefer. And then you get at dinner. You're eating dinner next to Kip Winger, or you're swimming in the pool with the guy from Anthrax or whatever.
But it's more than that because they do little shows. They do you go watch George Lynch play.
I think it's like 20 shows a day. Something
in the middle of the day,
like that.
Where on other cruises it's like, hey, we have bingo at 3. You guys have like Lynch Mob at 3. Lynch Mob's gonna play. I just think that's amazing. It's so cool to me, man. And you guys get an audience. You have people who actually come and
everything on that thing is completely packed. They were doing a Q&A with a band. The band wasn't even going to play. They were just doing a Q&A, and I think you were hosting it. And it was like you couldn't even stand on one of the balconies to watch the Q&A because it was just packed with people. I mean, every single person on that ship are diehard metalheads and love the music. So there were no, if you looked at the ship from afar, like if the Disney ship was passing by and they looked over and saw a ship filled with people wearing jeans and leather jackets, they'd be like, oh, that's probably a nightmare. There's more ink on that than a Bic pen shipment. There's just all these scary looking dudes walking around on the ship, and they couldn't be a nicer group of people because they're all there to share the exact same experience. They're all there to love what they're there to do. So like I remember most of the time Don would walk me backstage and we would watch the bands from the side or whatever. A couple times Don had to do something, but there was a band I wanted to see. So I'd go and I'd be standing in the back and like these people would be crowded, be like, "Oh, can you see? Hold on, come up here." Like people were just so nice because they knew you're there for the same reason. We all love these bands. So everybody was like friendly and nice. And it gives you a false sense of security because you think, oh, yeah, bikers think I'm cool. And then you get on land and you run into a biker and they're like, get the fuck out of my way.
But it's a great idea, Don. It really is. I used to do a lot of cruises as a comic. Yeah. And there was this one line I was on, and the cruise director was a guitarist and had been in bands. And he got one of the Filipino bands he like made them learn classic rock. And they would do a classic rock night. And that was the biggest night on that ship every week. Everybody could, and that, it was more class. It wasn't as metal as you guys do. But people don't realize that it's a whole different genre now. Like you can do that. You can get people in a room who are going, look at this music. Look at who we can bring in. And I just think it's cool. I think it's great that you guys do it. And I'm glad you got it in this year because you guys go out in February. So you must have got it in right before all the shit hit the fan.
Yeah, got it in under the wire. And luckily. So, but yeah, it was, I'll never forget. And Mark's right. I mean, it's a great family of people.
It is.
Because people really do come for the music. Like most people go on the other cruises, and the whole focus is on the buffet. The only reason you go to the buffet on the Monsters of Rock cruise is you're trying to get foundation so you can drink for the rest of the night.
Right.
Because there's 5 more bands you want to see, and you only have enough in you for one more because you're too drunk.
And the first time I ever performed on the Monsters of Rock cruise, before they actually made a formal comedy show down in one of the venues down below, they had me perform on the pool deck, which is really the place. That's the big stage. That's where thousands of metalheads come out and they just surround it from every level. And so you're up in front of 4,000 people. And I'm up there, and I remember we were docked in Nassau, Bahamas, on one of the stops on the cruise, and I'm up on stage, and I'm filthy, Richie. I'm just, when you're in front of a rock crowd, you got to bring the big dogs with you. You know what I mean? So, and I'm just hitting them with every nasty joke, and they're going crazy. But I see people pointing over to the left, and I look over, and we are docked 10 feet away from a giant pink ocean liner with the word Disney Princess.
I don't want to brag, but I work that ship now.
I've never seen passengers pray to hit an iceberg like this one.
The great thing on that ship is I was getting on. There's a couple cool things, stories that I'm remembering was we go to get on, and I'm standing in line, and I was with Craig Gass, but Craig knew somebody and immediately went up. So I was just standing in line. It was the crew line. So it's where all the artists and the crew people get on. It's not with the regular passengers. And I have a badge on that says artist. And there's a bunch of guys looking at me like, what band is this guy with? I'm 40 years younger than the youngest band member on the ship. And I'm wearing a baby blue t-shirt with plaid shorts and white tennis shoes. And Billy Sheehan looks over at me and goes, who you with? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, who you with? I don't know what you mean. He goes, your badge says artist. What band are you with? I go, oh, no. I'm a sandwich artist. I'm from Subway, and I'm here to make sandwiches for all you guys. I hear you're very picky. And he just started laughing. He's like, "You're fucked up. You're a riot. What band are you with?" I go, "I'm a comedian, and I didn't know you guys were coming in costume. Everybody's wearing black leather. Like we're in Miami in the summer." I'm like, "It's hot as shit. I'm not wearing black." And the whole time on the cruise,
Everybody on that cruise is in black, right?
they're in black denim. I'm walking around in like plaid shorts and like golf shirts and shit. I'm like, I look like the dad who got on the wrong ship. Like, oh shit. I don't think this is our boat. This isn't our boat.
That's what I always say. I go, the Monsters of Rock cruise is like any other cruise, but instead of Hawaiian shirts, Mai Tais and shuffleboard, it's Iron Maiden T-shirts, Jaeger shots, and public urination.
So real quick, Don, too, also plug some of your other albums, because we're going to put them up in the chat room. We'll put links up. So
Yeah, like I said, this is the new one, Denim and Laughter. I've done 4 live stand-up CDs, and I'm on a heavy metal label called Metal Blade, which has been around for 38 years.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be a part of their family. They have so many great bands, and that's my fourth CD with them. And then I got the stuff with Jim Florentine, Terrorizing Telemarketers.
And we have a clip. Let's go to the clip.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Is this James?
Yeah.
Okay, what can I help you with?
Just looking to get out of credit card debt, probably about like 30,000. Hello?
Hi, this is Steve from the phone company. I'm working on the line outside your apartment. I should be done soon. Sorry for the intrusion.
I never heard that before.
I know.
Just barging in a call like that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like the guy's too educated.
We want you enrolled in this program because sure, we have fees. It's 15%.
James, I know a place right here in Jersey that has it for 5%. So I could, if you want, I could hook you up with them.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of crap is that?
I mean,
I heard the pitch, and a friend of mine did that, and they never fixed his credit report. So I would get the name of the company.
What is the name of the company, sir?
Okay, it's credit.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that scammed my friend.
Oh.
This guy's feeding you a bunch of garbage. Please stay out of our conversation. What you're doing is totally illegal, because the next time I talk to you, you're not going to like the way I come across on the phone with you, all right?
I'm trying to fix the line, but I don't like what I'm hearing, so I think if you don't go with my guy, I'll just disconnect your line.
You can't cut the line, because I could just call the phone company up and
I am the phone company.
Well, if somebody was working on my telephone line and he just did this, I would have been outside with a baseball bat, breaking his kneecaps and probably taking a ladder from underneath him.
I love that your character even had a Van Halen logo on his helmet.
I was just going to say that. It was a Van Halen logo.
And it was a David Lee Roth logo, not the Hagar one.
That's funny.
Even better, those are 2 grown men doing that.
Well, I don't know if I would call you and him, Jim, grown men, but
you guys, I'm telling you, you live the life that junior high school Mark Riccadonna wanted to live before he got beat down by society.
Yeah.
If you said, Mark, you can make a living prank calling people, going to sports games, and hanging out with heavy metal artists, I would have went, get the fuck out of here. And then I met Don and realized it's a real thing.
You can do it. There's a goal.
Follow your dreams, kids. I know there's a lot of children watching today. Follow your dreams.
I wouldn't recommend it for most people, but I will say, man, it's, I've just met some of the greatest people doing this, and hey, we might be getting a little grayer, right? Richie, well, not Mark, because apparently he died right before the podcast, but we might get a little grayer, but we're still 16 inside, and that's what makes doing this worth it. Whether we, I don't need to be a multimillionaire. I don't need certain perks. I just need to enjoy what I'm doing, and that's what makes doing this so much fun for me. We get to collaborate with great people all the time if we want to, if we put ourselves out there, and then we make a couple bucks and we get by, man, and that's what it's about.
Dude, everything you've done is impressive to me. I got to tell you. I really do. I'm just so impressed by what you've done, and what you give so much as far as rock, and I just love it, man. And thank you so much. You're a tremendous comedian. I respect the shit out of you. And I love that metal show. I love all of it. So thank you so much for doing it.
I'm a huge fan, and I'm so proud to say that I'm a friend. It's like one of my favorite things is when I run into people back home.
We're so happy we got you.
Yeah, we got to have you back on, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed having you on.
I've gotten way too many great compliments through this awful time, and I know that it's heartfelt coming from you guys, and I do appreciate it because you know that I feel the same way back. Like I said, I mean, I remember looking in the window at Rascals and seeing Richie up on stage up there, and just going, God, you know, if I could get there, if I could just get there, even, you know, it was like I didn't think about trying. I didn't want to be Dice. I just wanted, let me get from this side of the door to that side of the door.
You got to hear me sing Dio. I want you to hear me sing Dio one day. I can do Dio, dude. We got
wow.
Yeah,
Don, we got to have you back on because I have videos of us on the Monsters of Rock cruise on my hard drive. I have to. We'll have to air those as well, and we can get Richie to do some Dio.
I'm in, sure, yeah. And I want to say this. I want to, you know, say because we all knew him well, but you know, rest in peace, Vic Henley.
One of the best.
Such a great guy.
We devoted the whole show to him the day after he died.
Okay.
So we love
that guy.
We love
that.
He was one of our first guests on the podcast. So
that was the other huge compliment that I got over the last couple of months before this whole coronavirus thing. Is his ex-wife is married to my buddy Lou. They came down to Uncle Vinny's to see me. I guess back in December. I think in December, and you know, it was one of those nights there where it just went down hard. Great. And afterwards she was like, oh my God, I didn't know what to expect, but Vic was right. You're a funny guy. And I went, what? She goes, yeah, you know, remember I told you I used to be married to Vic Henley? And I go, he said I was funny?
Yeah.
That's the biggest compliment you can get.
Yeah.
That was like Alice Cooper remembering my name. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. I was blown away that he said that I was a funny guy. So, man,
I didn't give compliments out often, so he means them when he says them.
And he's one of my favorite of all time. So, God bless him.
Well, guys, that's Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling.
Last call.
Thanks for listening to Drinks, Jokes, and Storytelling.